Welcome into the Sports Memo podcast for Tuesday, October 9th, where we're doing an NHL podcast, the first NHL podcast of the year, bringing in our NHL expert, Andrew McInnis. Follow him on Twitter, at McInnis Picks. All his work here at sportsmemo.com. Andrew, welcome in. How are you?
Doing great, Drew. It's great to be here talking some hockey and a brand new season. We're just about a week and a half in, or just around a week in now. A lot of upsets going on so far, a lot of teams surprising me so far, and a lot of teams that we did expect to excel playing some great hockey. So we got a decent-sized slate here to go over, and I'm very excited to break it down.
Yeah, absolutely. We got, rotation number 12 teams playing, so 6 games. And, you have been off to a great start, man. Hats off to you. I mean, the preseason and early season NHL season, you're, 25, 14, and 1, 32% ROI, and hitting 64% on the year. What do you think you've been doing correct here?
I think I'm just doing a great job of picking my spots here, Drew. Like you mentioned, the preseason, it's not something that I always get too carried away with and try and bet too much of. But the research really pays off. Staying on track with who's in net, what are the line combos looking like, what are the coaches looking for out of the team that night specifically, and of course just match up history between these two teams, between two teams that are playing, and that's kind of what I base my capping off of in the NHL, and it's really paid off so far. And I'm not one of those guys that's going to go out and give out 5-6 plays every night. I'm going to pick my spots and try and make the most out of it.
Yeah, low volume, less can be more, and better quality. So liking it, McInnis, keep it up, man. We got game number 1, 2 here. I love how the NHL numbers are low like that, 1 and 2, but it's a 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific start. Colorado at Columbus. Looks like this one's totaled at 6 or 5.5. Heritage is showing 5.5 as the total, and Columbus minus 145 favorite at home. How would you look to bet this one, McInnis?
I'm going to look to bet the under in this one, Drew. I'm looking at this matchup, and I see a team like the Columbus Blue Jackets right now that, in my eyes, they still haven't really figured out exactly what they're going to be, but they're a team that has been instructed to throw everything at the net. And when you see a team that's doing that, oftentimes you do look at the over, but we have transitioned into an NHL this year where we are seeing pretty much 6s across the entire board, where the norm used to be 5.5s for totals, but now it's pretty much mainly 6s, and the 5.5 is kind of the difference that we usually don't see as much. And so my point being in this one is I got a Colorado Avalanche team that's a 2-0 start, looking good, but they're also a little banged up. They've already got some injuries. We're seeing a backup goaltender in there in Grubauer, and I think that he will prove himself. I think he'll have a great start. He'll perform for this team. And we've got the Columbus Blue Jackets, like I said, a team that's got great goaltending, a team that's looked good so far as well, but they're laying minus 145 in this game. If anything, Drew, I would look to take the underdog in Colorado. They've got off to a great start, but this isn't a game that I'm really too high on as far as the night goes. Colorado off to a great start on the season, averaging 4.5 goals per game overall in the past little while for this team. But they've got studs. They've got guys like Nathan McKinnon that are going to turn into an absolute all-star and start tearing up this league like he already has. Again, my official play on this one is going to be the under. This team, these two matchups, they should slow the pace down and try and figure each other out, because for right now they're looking too reckless to me, and the coaches want things to calm down and try and get quality shots, not just a high amount of shots, but quality shots.
And McInnis, how much do you factor in like the travel spot? Denver to Columbus, or even in our next game, San Jose to Philadelphia, kind of cross-country travel spots. Obviously, it matters where they're coming from before, if they are actually coming from Colorado to Columbus. But just overall, with your NHL handicapping, how much do you factor in the travel?
You have to factor it in a lot, Drew. You have to factor it in a lot. Sometimes I do say that in certain spots, being the road team is an advantage. It's a good opportunity. Less pressure on the teams, less pressure on the coaches, and sometimes players are more comfortable, especially if you're in the middle of a losing streak or you're in the middle of a spot where you're not playing your best hockey. Heading on the road might not be a bad thing. But of course, if you look at an example like yesterday, San Jose Sharks, kind of a bad road spot for them, and they played an afternoon game against the New York Islanders. And they definitely did not put up their best performance, losing by several goals to the New York Islanders, a team that they should easily beat. So that's a perfect example yesterday as a travel spot. But this one here, I think early on in the season, Drew, for this Colorado team, I don't think it affects it too much.
Okay. Not sure about the travel here, if San Jose is leaving San Jose and playing in Philadelphia, or if they were already on the road. But we got game number 3, 4, 7 o'clock Eastern start, San Jose at Philadelphia. This one totaled at 6, and it looks like about a pick'em. We do have a lot of heavy favorites tonight, but not this one. I'm seeing minus 110 at Pinnacle for Philadelphia, and a flip favorite with Chris, the bookmaker to the American-facing client, showing minus 112 on the other side, San Jose. One, do we see that a lot with flip favorites, McInnis? And also, how would you look to bet San Jose, Philadelphia?
We do see that a lot, Drew, and we see it a lot early on in the season. We see a lot of people overreacting, a lot of people thinking, based off of the game they saw last out of a team, the performance they saw, is that how they're basing their next performance? And that's not how it should be. It should be a game-by-game process. On our last podcast together, Drew, you asked me, the main things and the good points that I really think about from NHL handicapping, and that actually is one of the main things is, not just basing your handicapping on how a team has done in the past 1-2 games. It's just looking at them on a day-to-day basis, and I think that's one thing we're seeing here with this San Jose Sharks team and the Philadelphia Flyers. This Flyers team's off to a great start. They're looking good. They're looking like a talented team. They're looking like a team that's come together defensively as well, and I think that's been a huge factor for this team. Last year, they had involved in a lot of over games. Their defense looked shaky. They weren't a team you could really rely on to keep the puck out of their own end, and that's been a big problem. So looking at this game here, the fact that we're getting close to a pick 'em, because San Jose has been a heavy favorite in their first couple games here in this NHL season 2018-2019. But looking at this one, this should be a close contest. I think where the line is set is perfect, but it also sets up a perfect spot in my eyes, Drew, for the San Jose Sharks. You look at this Philadelphia team, you got guys like Claude Giroux, you got guys like Sean Couturier, Jakub Voracek, Travis Konechny, of course, the sophomore, Nolan Patrick, actually in his second year. And these guys are talented. They're players. It's a team that comes together that can play well. But I'm not nearly as high on this Philadelphia Flyers team as I am on this San Jose Sharks team. And it sets up a great spot because, like I mentioned, yesterday we saw San Jose on that terrible, terrible travel road spot. They came into the New York Islanders and they lost 4-0. They put up an absolute goose egg. They could not do anything. They could not put anything together. And there's one team that I know is going to bounce back, know it's going to come together as a team collectively and put together a good effort. It is this San Jose Sharks team. We got guys like Pavelski, Timo Meier, Couture, Thomas Hertl. These guys are talented, but more importantly, a terrible, terrible defensive performance from the San Jose Sharks yesterday. And I'm still loving this D-core, one of the best D-cores in the league. Of course, Erik Karlsson, the new member everyone's talking about for the San Jose Sharks, a trade from the Ottawa Senators, comes over. He's on a D pair with Mark-Edward Vlasic, and of course Brent Burns and Justin Braun and guys like that. So for me, this is kind of where it should be based off what we've seen so far this season. But as we progress throughout the season, I think San Jose will be way and well ahead of this Philadelphia Flyers team. So you can give me the road team here, Drew, with the San Jose Sharks.
McInnis, we got another West Coast team traveling on the East Coast with Vancouver at Carolina tonight. Another 7 o'clock Eastern puck drop, I guess. 6 is the total, minus 200 Carolina at home.
Yeah, this one here, it sticks out like a sore thumb to me. This one is an absolute over, 100% for me. This is going to be a high-scoring affair, a high-scoring game, and you can count on both these two teams in my eyes to be over teams. We've got a team like Vancouver that is young, that's energetic, that pushes the pace. They've got a lot of speed, a lot of fast guys, but their defense, they've played the same team twice. They played Calgary twice to start the season off, and they beat them. They were complete underdogs in the first game. They won 5-2. Second game, they lose 7-4. So those two examples right there show you that they can put up some goals, and they're also going to be involved in a lot of high-scoring games. Their defense, to me, is going to be their biggest letdown. They're losing Henrik Sedin and Daniel Sedin, of course, two guys that were with that franchise for so long. They retired this past season. And, that loss for them, Drew, is not only a loss on offense, but it's a loss on defense. And people don't really take that into a factor as much. When you got veteran guys with experience that know what it's like to be out there, they've got that experience on home ice, on the road, and they're used to the Vancouver Canucks systems. They know what it's like. And so now we've got a bunch of new guys in here that are kind of trying to make a name for themselves and try and build this team on their own. So looking at this, we got guys like Brock Besser, Elias Pettersson, Louis Eriksson, Jake Virtanen, of course, Bo Horvat, all of these guys can put the puck in the back of the net, can be talented. But again, I'm worried about the defensive pairings for Vancouver. We've got goalie and Jakob Markstrom, who is a goalie that right now he's proved that, in game number 1, we saw him. It looked like an absolute brick wall. I mentioned it was a 5-2 victory for Vancouver. Then, of course, the next game on Saturday, not so much, did not look the same. So he is the definition of inconsistent to me, which is why I think they will be an over team. And, of course, the Carolina Hurricanes, they've got some talent as well. So Jordan Staal, Justin Williams, Sebastian Aho, all of these guys can score. And I rewatched the Carolina game from 2 nights ago. They love to push the pace. They're another one of those teams that's going to be firing everything that they can on net, whether it's a quality shot or not. They just want to get that shot number up. So we're going to look over the total in this one, Drew.
And guys, McInnis, he does NHL, also does a little NFL for us, and he does have his 7-day all-access pass, normally $99. We're doing a special coupon code on the podcast here. If you just type in NHL with the number 7, that's NHL 7, you get $60 off, so $39, and you'll get 7 days of all-access service with McInnis. We'll move down the rotation numbers here. 7 and 8, Calgary versus Nashville. Looks like 6 is the total. Nashville laying minus 158 at home, McInnis.
Yeah, Drew, this is actually going to be my 4% wager here posted on Sports Memo. So to find the information on this one, you can head over to my page on the Sports Memo website, and I'll have that up within the next hour and a half to 2 hours on the page. But this one is going to be an action-packed game, probably one of the games of the night in my eyes. And so to find my play on that one will be my kind of best bet on the night on the Sports Memo website.
Okay, good stuff. Yeah, you can check out Sports Memo for that, and also that would be included in the All Access. So the coupon code for that is NHL7. Moving down the line here, we got Los Angeles at Winnipeg. Looks like this one totaled at 6, McInnis, and minus 190, seeing minus 200s out there with Winnipeg laying that at home.
Yeah, this is one of those spots here where you do not want to look at the money line. You're paying way too steep of a price. It's minus 189, minus 200 at certain spots. It's not something I'm interested in. But what I am interested in is this home spot here for this Winnipeg Jets team. I like the way they're playing so far. Whether or not they're getting shut out here by the Dallas Stars or they're playing a high-scoring game, this is a team that has so much depth, Drew. If you were to ask me, Drew, which team can you think of at the top of your head that has the most depth down the middle? The Winnipeg Jets is one of those teams that would instantly spark into my head, and it's one of those teams that I'm going to constantly rely on to put up goals. It's all about Connor Hellebuck. If he can be solid between the pipes and be a solid goaltender. We've got guys like Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler leading that top line for the Jets. But then the second line, Nick Ehlers, Brian Little, and Patrick Laine could easily be a top line for most teams in the NHL as well. So this team is so talented. I think right now this LA Kings team is just so defensively structured that it's almost hurt them. I mean, this team is going to be involved in a lot of high-scoring games, more than people think, and LA is very weak in transition. They're not a fast team. They're trying to be a fast team, but it's not working out for them. They're going to get completely dominated by this Winnipeg team. So my bet for this one, I advise everyone to hop on the puck line for Winnipeg. I don't take a lot of puck lines, Drew, but plus 155 at 5 dimes, it's a great spot. Of course, we've got Jack Campbell making his second start. He got his first win here for LA, but he's a guy that is a backup. Of course, Jonathan Quick is injured, starting goaltender for LA. He's a backup. He played most of his career in the AHL. He's 1-0 so far, but I don't think his success will continue tonight, and Winnipeg will dominate this one.
And McInnis, just kind of for the more newer better out there, when you say puck line, can you explain that? What exactly is an NHL puck line?
Yeah, puck line is pretty much just like a run line in the baseball, so you have to win by at least 2 goals. Oftentimes you do see that being decided by an empty netter or, of course, just a blowout game. So it's when you really do think that a team has enough edge to definitely put up a few more goals than the opposing team and kind of dominate that matchup. Because in the NHL, you do see plenty of games decided by just 1 goal. So I have enough confidence in this Winnipeg team to defeat the LA Kings by more than just 1 goal.
And this is normal for a minus 200 favorite. And so if you bet a minus 1.5 on the puck line, that would turn all the way to plus 155?
Yeah, it blows some people's mind, Drew, but it's true. I mean, a lot of times you see a lot of one-goal games. So just taking this puck line adds your odds and adds so much value. You see a lot of cappers that do hockey. This isn't my style, Drew, but you see a lot of people that take a lot of puck lines simply because of the math. I mean, take a lot of puck lines and you're hitting them more often than not. You could have like a 50-50 record, but be tremendously positive units if you're cashing with puck line tickets. But in my eyes, for the most part, with certain teams, I've bet the Nashville Predators the past couple games, their first two games, and they were minus 150 favorites one game, Drew, minus 155 favorites the next. And I took them on the money line both times. And I bet you plenty of people took them on the puck line, but they would only be 1-1 on the puck line, and they're 2-0 on the money line. So for me, it really does depend, but the puck line is an often good bet if your team is way too favored on the money line. You're trying to save some value and be a smart bettor.
Yeah, and for someone like me who bets a lot, but it isn't an NHL bettor and isn't going to pretend to beat the NHL betting markets, but I would think part of this handicap would be like how aggressive the opposing coach is to pull their goalie, because that would be a big part of this. If it's 3-2 late in the game, are they pulling the goalie, with 30 seconds left, or are they pulling the goalie with 3 or 4 minutes left? Like, how much does that go into it?
It definitely does, man. I'll tell you, I'll be completely honest with you. A lot of times people do cash their puck line bets strictly with empty net goals. That's not obviously what you're basing your handicap off of, but sometimes it is what it comes down to. And you know what, Drew? It's a good point you make. A lot of people don't think about it, but certain coaches really have identities that are known for pulling their goalies earlier. For example, Patrick Waugh, a former all-star goalie, he was coaching for the Colorado Avalanche for a few years. He would pull his goalie, Drew, with literally 3 minutes left, 2.5 minutes left. Some coaches are crazy with that, and some people might not even call that crazy, but some coaches, they just like to wait. They don't want to get exposed too early, and they'll wait till there's about 45 seconds left to get a face-off in the opposing team zone, maybe a minute to go. But yeah, it's a good point, man. I really do think a lot of times puck lines do get decided that way, but in the example for this Jets game, I think it won't need an empty net goal. I think they'll just dominate the LA Kings.
All right, McInnis, last game here, and guys, remember the coupon code NHL7, $60 off his all-access pass. That means you can get 7 days of his NHL, plus CFL and NFL is still going on, so you get those included, but the code is NHL7, and you can get $39 for his next 7 days of service. We got rotation number 11 and 12, Toronto at Dallas. This one totaled at 6.5, so a little bit higher scoring projected in the betting markets, and it looks like Dallas minus 134 favorites at home.
This one is a very, very weird one, Drew. This is a game that you're looking at this Toronto Maple Leafs team that is in my eyes, not playing to their potential whatsoever. This is a team, Drew, that opened up as Stanley Cup final favorites, as to win it, absolutely win it all. And that's because they picked up John Tavares from the New York Islanders, a player that's an absolute stud, an absolute all-star, to join this lineup for the Maple Leafs that's already so incredibly talented with guys like Patrick Marleau, Austin Matthews, Kasperi Kapanen, Mitch Marner, Zach Hyman, Nazem Kadri, of course, William Nylander, who is right now holding out because of contract issues. But this is a team that's just so talented, Drew, but yet they've almost struggled to play consistent hockey, to play defensive hockey, and prove that they're a team to be taken seriously. I mean, I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, and I take my handicapping very seriously and don't involve being a fan of a team. But I was watching that opening game, Toronto versus Montreal, Drew, and I think that Montreal pretty much outplayed this Toronto Maple Leafs team for about 2 out of the 3 periods. I mean, Toronto was only managed to beat Montreal 3-2 in regulation time or in overtime fashion, and they were minus 240 favorites to open that game on the money line. Of course, the next game, Saturday night, the game of the night, really the lock of the night for a lot of people that ruined a lot of people's survivor pools. The Leafs lost 5-3 to the Ottawa Senators. They were minus 280 favorites, Drew. Minus 280 favorites on the money line. This was a team, Drew, that was literally supposed to be one of the worst teams in the NHL, and one of the worst teams for several years, this Ottawa Senators team. I mean, they traded away Carlson, they traded away Hoffman, they traded away so many players. Their GM has literally admitted, Drew, that they're going through a rebuild. He can't stop saying the word rebuild. They're not getting fans in seats. This whole organization's a disaster, but somehow they managed to beat the Leafs 5-3. And then, of course, on Sunday, Chicago takes on the Leafs, and that's just an absolute back-and-forth battle. And the Leafs end up winning that one 7-6. So, as what I'm trying to say is that this team still hasn't had their best battle. They still haven't had their best game so far. Meanwhile, this Dallas Stars team has looked strong so far. They've had great performances. They're starting the season off 2-0. They beat the Winnipeg Jets 5-1, and everyone was all over Winnipeg in that game. They proved that Winnipeg maybe was not that defense specialist that we thought they were. But having said all of this, Drew, we are getting a 6.5 total in this one, something that you rarely see in the NHL, something that I expect to see a lot more this year. But like I mentioned, we're kind of going away from that 5.5 total number. We're seeing a lot more sixes. Now we're seeing a 6.5. A lot of people are still on the over in this one, but Drew, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to take the under the total in this one. For Dallas, Ben Bishop has been absolutely dominant in goal, and I think that continues tonight against this Toronto team. Toronto, they're a team that they've admitted that they don't mind having to put up a lot of goals to make up for their defense. But the headlines everywhere, Drew, are can this team only be a good team if they're putting up 4 or 5 goals a game because their defense is that terrible? And I think tonight they will prove they can be a defensive team. I think Freddie Anderson has a good performance tonight. I think this team really buckles down. I see a 3-1, 4-2 style game, and that still cashes the under for me. And I'm going to take Toronto because we're getting this amazing Toronto Maple Leafs team at plus money for the first time this year. And I think that's when they cash a ticket for us. Dallas is overachieving. Toronto is underachieving. Take the under and take Toronto on the money line.
All right, good stuff, McInnis. This is the first NHL podcast for us. And guys, if you want to hear more NHL podcasts or want to throw out any questions to McInnis or any NHL handicapping or handicapping overall questions, feel free to reach out. Follow him on Twitter at McInnis Picks or myself at Drew Martin Bets, or email in to support@sportsmemo.com any questions you have, and we'll try to answer them on the podcast. But McInnis, you want to throw out anything else before we shut this down?
No, just happy to be here. Looking forward to talking hockey each and every week here on Sports Memo. I'm going to have a free play written up as well on my page here on Sports Memo. Just click on my name on the handicapper page as Andrew McInnis. And again, this is a kind of an opportunity. 7-day access, all plays, every sport for me. I also have a deal going on right now. Originally $650, cut down to $299 for the half season, all the way up until the All-Star game. Let me prove to you what I can do, and I'm ready. I'm all excited. I'm well researched and ready to go here for hockey.
Absolutely, well said, man. And keep up the good work. And the code for the 7-day all access is NHL7, and you can get all of his NHL plus NFL and CFL for only $39. So, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will be back tomorrow with the start of the College Football Every Game on the Board podcast.